Welcome to the Edge of Innovation with InSource, the podcast that takes you on a thrilling ride through the world of digital transformation. Join us as we dive into the latest trends, cutting-edge technologies, and game-changing strategies that are revolutionizing manufacturing in industrial settings. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just curious about the future of industrial innovation, we've got something for everyone. In this episode, InSource's Jeff Miller, Director of Smart Manufacturing and Innovation, and Kevin Modlin, Vice President of Client Success, discuss InSource InCommand, a premier service offering comprehensive OT lifecycle management for manufacturing and industrial companies using AVEVA software for their SCADA and/or MES systems. Take it away, Jeff.
Good morning, everyone. Before we dive in today, let's first set the stage by looking at the significant shifts occurring in the manufacturing landscape today. Today in manufacturing, it is not the same as it was 10 to 15 years ago. We're witnessing a dramatic increase in complexity, driven by the convergence of IT and OT systems. Automation and IoT and cloud integration have transformed our manufacturing floors into these highly interconnected ecosystems. And this digital convergence, while powerful, also introduces vulnerabilities. Cybersecurity threats are escalating rapidly, putting industrial operations at constant risk. And remarkably, statistics show us that approximately 80% of these threats could be prevented through proper system patching and management. At the same time, manufacturers are under relentless pressure to enhance efficiency and eliminate downtime. Now, navigating this complexity and protecting operations is what I would say no longer just beneficial, it's essential. So today I am joined with Kevin Modlin, our very own VP of Client Success. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
So Kevin, many people may not be familiar with an organization like ours having a client success organization. Can you share what that means for our clients? Maybe give us a little bit of an infomercial on what makes InSource Solutions Group so special.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. So under the heading of client success, we lump a number of our teams. So we lump our tech support team into our client success organization. All the training that we offer goes into client success. The team that you lead, that we call enablement, sort of the pre-sales organization. And then we have a focused client or customer success team whose job it is to help our clients get the most they can from the dollars they've already invested with us. So that team is not a sales team. It's not a pre-sales team. It really is a post-sales team. And our aim is to understand what the customer's goals and objectives are and help them get as close to those things as they can using the tools they've already invested in from us. So that's the sort of things that fall under the umbrella of client success for us.
And I would say that from a client success perspective, especially the client success advocate team, they hear a lot about the gaps in or challenges that customers are facing today. And I would say that many of those team members also participated in what we're talking about today, which is InCommand. And a lot of that feedback came into the development of InCommand. Can you talk a little bit about what gaps our clients said they are struggling with that really caused us to focus on creating a solution like InCommand for the marketplace?
Absolutely. So in addition to, as you mentioned, our CSAs, our client success advocates, that's the team of people who are focused on helping clients get the best they can. But in addition to that team, we also have the tech support team, which day in, day out is hearing the challenges that our customers are encountering. And you mentioned in the intro that, industrial software continues to get more capable. I don't know if I would say it gets more complex, but it certainly certainly the environment in which we're operating, where there are increased security needs, and so we get operating system changes to support those security needs. The increased complexity of the entire infrastructure stack is something that we see as a need that our customers are bringing to us. We're helping with those things, of course, in our tech support team. We're hearing about those from the other parts of our organization that touches customers, and it really is the day-to-day management of this increasingly complex environment and all the things that goes with that. And that's really beginning to not beginning to that really is and has been for some time sort of providing a barrier to the kind of work that automation teams historically would do to improve operations. So they're spending more energy on in our materials we call this status quo activities, but they're spending more energy on things that just keep the lights on, just keep the infrastructure in place and functional, and that's leaving less time for them to do incremental improvement activities.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I really like the word status quo because that really is epitomizing what happens to manufacturing systems that don't, see the innovation or the investment in those and moving those forward. And a lot of that's due to bandwidth, right?
Yeah.
Constraints. There's not enough bandwidth for these engineers and maintenance technicians to really focus on investing in innovation. And I call these status quo activities almost an anchor to innovation.
Yeah, that's a really good way to think about it. So if you think about what goes into maintaining an industrial automation system today, it's really, as you said before, the increasing security landscape requires more frequent updates. So, you know, you've probably been paying attention to the Microsoft monthly patch updates, and I don't know how many, critical vulnerabilities there are, but it's not out of the ordinary to see 10 or 15 critical vulnerabilities released in a month. And so you can't ignore those any longer. If you're responsible for an automation system, you just can't ignore that those kinds of things are being pushed out. And we used to depend on isolation or an air gap between our business network and our process networks to sort of shield us from those. But anymore, systems are much more connected, and again, we just can't. We have to keep those systems secure. We can't depend on that air gap, and so one of the big time sinks is sort of dealing with those things. In addition, the software vendors, including AVEVA, are releasing updates. Some of those are security related, and some are not. So there's lots of work to be done in that space. There's also just the day-to-day monitoring of, is everything still functioning the way we expect it to? Do we have a network blip? Are we filling up the hard drives on our historian computers? There's just so many things to pay attention to, and that list doesn't ever get any smaller.
Yeah. We used to rely on, and this is not a new term, obviously, but security through obscurity.
Yeah.
We used to rely on that because most people never even heard of, and today I would say most people still haven't heard of what a PLC is. If you go out and to talk to your parents, they probably don't know what a PLC is
Yeah, that's
largely,
right. Yeah.
or an HMI, but attackers do, and cyber security criminals do, and it's becoming more and more prevalent. So, In Command was developed to really help address these things, and I love hearing how others describe In Command. Can you give me your definition of what In Command and how it might solve some of these challenges?
Yeah. I view in command as um, sort of in-source assuming responsibility for the more mundane parts of managing and maintaining an automation infrastructure that depends on AVEVA components. So it's important to say, we're experts in the AVEVA stack. So if 99% of your infrastructure is from another provider, we're probably not the best choice. But anyway, back to your question. I describe in command as being about us assuming responsibility for those things. You know, um, leveraging the power of our decades of experience. We got a lot of smart people around who've got a lot of real practical, real world experience with these systems. And so in command allows us to take that burden off your plate, manage these things from a day-to-day perspective, manage the security updates and patches, keep an eye on, use automation to keep an eye on the health of these systems and respond to things. In some cases, before the end user would even know that there's a growing problem. So that's what InCommand is. I don't know if I simplified it as much as were hoping I would, but
Yeah, that's great. And we can dig into a little bit about what those
sure.
the main features are of In Command, but I think that was a great summary of it. In our marketing material, we list 6 core features to In Command that what we call liberating our clients from those status quo activities. The first one is proactive health monitoring. Can you share what we mean by this?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I hinted at this in my definition a minute ago. We've built some proprietary tools that allow us to, in an automated manner, keep tabs on the health of AVEVA infrastructure. And so, there are lots of general purpose IT tools that would help you understand if a service that you expect to run is still running. And of course, we do those things. And of course, we're monitoring the state of the base infrastructure part, so the memory and CPU. But in addition to that, we built some smarts into our monitoring tools that allow us to um, mine the logger, the AVEVA logger for relevant information. And if you ever spent time poking around in the AVEVA logger, it just gets there's just tons of data in there, but it can be a little bit hard to sift through and find the important elements. And we've used some again proprietary tools to help us with that, to help us keep tabs on how the customer's infrastructure is operating and elevate in a push way the things that are going to need attention in the near term.
And those events that get raised, and as we're monitoring this system for health, we're not just monitoring it and just watching it and doing nothing, right? We
That's right.
have this next feature called 24/7 incident response.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah. Well, that means pretty much exactly what it sounds like. So, this is not a case where we recognize a problem and we send you a text message and say you should do something about this.
Right.
Our incident response is either we recognize that there's something going on in the customer's infrastructure that needs some touch, or the customer notifies us. So either way, our technical team is available 24 hours a day to respond to those things. And again, we think our monitoring tools will give us early visibility to those kinds of things. So we're expecting that most of what we're doing is based on a push signal that we get, not an indication from the customer that they're experiencing a problem. But again, that's 24/7, 365. We're going to have resources to help you ensure that those systems stay up and stay operational.
And in that context of staying operational, and also staying secure, like we talked about before, that patch management component, that's that third feature of
Yep.
In Command,
Yep.
which is pretty self-explanatory. But talk to us about the boundaries. We have to put some boundaries
Yeah.
around what patch management means in this context.
Exactly. So what we mean generally is Windows patches and security related AVEVA patches. But we realize there's not just like every manufacturing site or every industrial site is different. The patch management strategy would be different. So our vision for this offering is to apply all the Microsoft patches that are, first of all, are approved for AVEVA software. So AVEVA does testing, and we'll leverage that testing to filter the list of things that are going to be applied. But we would also work with the customer to define exactly what that strategy looks like. So, it's probably not going to be on the Wednesday after Patch Tuesday. We just reboot all the computers. That's probably not going to be what it is. But we have to consider each customer's unique circumstances, what their infrastructure looks like, how much they have in the way of backups. But our vision is to define a strategy and deploy those on behalf of the customer to their production environment. Again, all the Windows patches and all the security related Aviva patches.
And then there are cases, and we've seen this recently, in Western North Carolina. There's other natural disasters that occur that take manufacturing facilities out of operation through things that just happen naturally as part of our weather patterns. And we've included this concept of disaster recovery as our fourth feature. Talk to us about what those conditions are and what we might do as part of that process.
Yeah, so well in advance of the disaster, our in command offering includes backup services, and so we enumerate everything that we'd be backing up, but essentially that is configuration information like InTouch applications. It is runtime information like historian data blocks. And so we'll be, on behalf of the customer, we'll be backing those things up and putting them in an offsite storage location, and then leveraging those in the event that there's some disaster, some machine needs to be rebuilt, or some group of machines needs to be rebuilt. And our offering includes the services to help customers get those things back up and running again. So the way we characterize it is, we're going to jump in as soon as you have the infrastructure ready. And what we mean is you have the operating system for us to install software on. So, we in the base version of InCommand, we don't manage Windows itself other than applying the patches. So in a disaster recovery scenario, the customer spins up a virtual machine with Windows on it, and we go to work and help them get that put back together into a production ready state.
In essence, we're an extra set of hands so that uh, organizations, those resources that are helping to get the plant operational, don't have to be focused on those OT, HMI, SCADA, MES systems. We can offload that for them, and it's included. We're not charging extra for
Yeah.
this, right? We're doing this as part of the program, and I think that is one of my favorite parts of this, because we're there when they need us the most.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Jeff, um, manufacturers and industrial customers are generally doing more with less these days, and that's been the trend for the last few decades. I've been around InSource for 25 years now. That's been a continuing theme since I started. And it's not like most of our customers have a giant staff of engineers that they could dump on a disaster recovery problem. And Murphy's Law says that when you have a situation like that and you need all your key people, there's some possibility that one of them is going to be in Barbados on vacation, or if they're lucky, somewhere doing something that means they're not immediately available to be a part of disaster recovery. Our team provides that backup, just as you say, but we also have a pretty deep bench of people. So, one person out of our organization is not going to make a big impact to our disaster recovery services, where it might for some of our customers.
And then these last two features, I've heard you classify them as knowledge management or knowledge transfer features. The first one is unlimited training. Talk to us about that. You own training as part of the client success team. Talk to us about what unlimited training.
Yeah, it really is, we publish a schedule. We're doing almost a class a week or at InSource, and in the new InSource, and just a side commercial here, we've undergone some changes recently. InSource now has a footprint not only in the US but also in Canada. And in the merged organization, we'll be doing, I don't know the exact number, but let's say 80 classes a year. So our published schedule will have, on average, more than one class a week. And InCommand subscribers can put up to 4 people in any one of those classes. So whether you need some of your people trained on InTouch or on application server or historian or MES, anything that we have on our schedule as most of these are virtual instructor led. So it's a live training class that you attend virtually, and as a subscriber, you can attend as many of those classes as you want. There's a limit of 4 per class instance, but if you got 8 people you want to get trained on InTouch, do that over the course of 2 of those training events. So that's really what unlimited training is about.
Yeah, and it's really about upskilling resources. Organizations have turnover. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a natural part of manufacturing. There is turnover, and you have to bring people in and get them trained on the software. So this is an approach that allows you to not only upskill the new resources that come in, but also those resources. Maybe you haven't had the opportunity to get really formal training on your own systems, and it
yeah.
allows you to get that, right?
Yeah. Yes, and I should have mentioned also that in addition to the published schedule of classes, we've begun in the last few years offering what we call self-paced training. So if you need a class and that our schedule doesn't align with your schedule, inquire about self-paced training. So we can help you get that same training content, but you go through it at your own pace, and we give you access to an expert who can help you if you hit a speed bump somewhere along the way.
And then finally, the last one, schedule and expert, which may not sound, very,
Glamorous.
self-explanatory, but talk to us about schedule and expert.
Yeah. So again, um, InSource is blessed with a large group of engineering talent, and so we make that engineering talent available to our subscribers. So in-command subscribers would get access to our engineering team, and this is not designed to be a project deployment tool, but if you're learning something new about one of the AVEVA tools, or if you're trying to build something new that you haven't built before, or you haven't built anything similar to it before, you can leverage our experts to help you with that. So schedule an expert just like it sounds. You give us a couple of weeks notice, tell us something about what you're trying to accomplish. We line you up with the right subject matter expert on that technology and that tool. And we pair them up with you for whatever it is you want, for 2 hours, 4 hours, whatever that looks like, to help you get over the hump with a particular challenge that you're working on.
Yeah, the word I was looking for earlier is those last two I've heard you say are knowledge as a service.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really like that. I think that's a good characterization of those two aspects, enabling the organization to do more with the software that they have.
So it's probably a good time to point out, Jeff, that we're talking in command today, which is a more holistic. We take over some of the management and maintenance of your infrastructure, but the two things we've been talking about most recently, unlimited training and schedule an expert, are available standalone in an offering that we call Insider.
Insider.
So that's a side note, but those are available separately if you were
Yeah.
just interested in those
That's
things.
exactly right. If you're interested in that, Katie will have call to action information at the end, but
Yep.
that is our Insider program, and Insider is included in Command.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
we bundled that as part of this because not only do we want to take away the burden of the management of the systems from a day-to-day perspective, and take away as some of those 2 a.m. calls, but also enable you to actually execute some of those value add projects.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we're pricing this in what I would call a fixed price model. In many cases, when OT systems are supported by external contractors, maybe SIs, they use a on-call traditional time and expense model for supporting,
Yep.
these SCADA and MES environments. But with InCommand, we're taking that different approach by offering outcome-based managed services. From your perspective, what makes this shift so important? How does it change the dynamic between the service provider and the manufacturer?
Yeah, really good point. And by the way, I thought you told me when we prepped for this that you were going to only ask me easy questions, but anyway, yeah, actually, as a company, we're trying to pivot more to our whole business being more about outcomes. What's the outcome we're trying to deliver to the customer, and within Command, we're trying to deliver an outcome of high uptime systems with minimal impact to the engineering team that might have been supporting them. So again, that resource could be freed up to do something more value add. And so, you know, we also with our engineering team could do an hours based support model for a customer, but we've put this bundle together in Command and we've got a fixed price on it. And that will allow us from a an economies of scale, if we're supporting a lot of customers in the same way with a lot of the same tools, we get economies of scale, and that economy of scale can be passed along to customers. And so, from a risk perspective, I would say fixed cost things are more shared risk than T&E. T&E, you pay for the hours. You might not know exactly how many hours you're going to consume, and so there's some risk to you as the end user that you consume more hours than you thought you would. In a fixed cost model, we're assuming some part of that risk.
That's
So,
right.
so we're saying we're going to help you with disaster recovery, and we don't put limits on that. We don't say up to 4 hours, or up to 8 hours, or up to 16 hours. Our commitment is we're going to help you with that until your system is going again, and we have to build a model that we can live with, but we're assuming some of the risk, and that's what the fixed price model allows us to do.
Yeah, and in that T&E model, you might budget for a certain amount of expenditure for the year,
Yeah,
and you hit that, but you may not have achieved those outcomes that you actually needed through the entirety of the year. And here we're saying, hey, we're going to give you that budget. You can count on that budget. You are not going to ask for more money, and we're still going to return back to you those outcomes that we promised.
Exactly right. So, just like not everybody um, buys a Ferrari or even a Cadillac. And I'm not trying to compare one offering to another, but what I'm trying to say is that not every offering fits for every circumstance. So maybe there's a circumstance where T&E is the best fit for the customer, but I think um, we've designed InCommand to be something that meets the needs of lots of customers and is at a price point that should make it both affordable and, as you pointed out, predictable.
Now, one of the challenges in in our environment, outsourcing IT has been very mainstream lately, right?
Yeah.
For the past 15 years, companies have been outsourcing IT, and most businesses don't even think twice about doing that for managed services for their networks, their servers, their user devices. But when it comes to the OT systems, like SCADA and MES, many manufacturers are still handling everything in-house. Why do you think that gap exists, and how does InCommand change the game to making outsourcing OT support not just possible but strategic advantage?
Um, so I would say that um, there are many, many, many IT providers who have the skill set required to manage an IT system. The pool of available resources that can manage an OT system is much, much smaller. So historically, I think our customers and most industrial customers have wanted that control of those systems. So those systems are so critically important to the business that they want the control of having those resources in house. And that's not wrong, but I think we're seeing a shift to, we just don't have the wherewithal to A, find all that talent all the time, and B, retain all that talent. And so I think people are increasingly looking for what's another way to meet this need. So we've said this a number of times, but it'd be ideal if the smart people you have could be working on the most challenging things that you have to improve your business, not just maintaining the systems that you have. So um, I don't remember if I'm answering your question or not, but
Yeah.
I think we're seeing a shift to outsourcing in the OT space because um, companies like InSource are recognizing the market opportunity and putting together these kinds of programs. And I think you're going to see a shift in the market acceptance of this approach.
Yeah, and the key here is we're not coming in here to say, "Hey, we're going to outsource you outsource your OT systems to us, and then you can get rid of all your OT support staff." That's not what we're saying, and that's not even feasible. But and I think that's an important point to make here is that we are here to enable the organization to do more, not to reduce the headcount at an organization.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you know, I'd say I was going to say no, and maybe it's not no, but very very few customers have extracted all of the incremental improvement they can get out of their automation systems. So my premise is that there's more to be gained from improving those systems. The question is, how do we get the bandwidth to make that stuff happen? And we think InCommand is one of the tools that customers can lean on to again repurpose those resources to improvement activities, to value added activities.
Well, Kevin, I think we had a great conversation. I'd like to wrap this up. So feel free to reach out to anybody within our organization. If you already are a partner of ours and you're used to doing business with us, feel free to reach out to those that you normally reach out to. But also, Katie will have some additional information to be able to communicate to us as if you're not familiar with the people within our organization. So thanks everybody for attending, and we appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me echo that. Thanks. We appreciate your time and reach out if you got questions.
Thanks for joining us at the Edge of Innovation. As Jeff said, we're here to help you. You can reach out to us on our website at insource.solutions. You can email us at communications@insourcess.com or give us a call at 877-467-6872. We hope you'll join us next time for another stone in the path on the digital transformation journey.